In Keith's latest 2026 NFL mock draft, Fernando Mendoza becomes the Las Vegas Raiders franchise savior.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast. Cover your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Keith dropped a new mock draft in the new year, first of more than likely many for us here on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. But we're going to break this mock draft into 3 episodes. Start with episode 1. We're going through the top 10 picks. We're going to talk about our favorite picks of the top 10, most interesting and the most underrated picks of the top 10 picks of his latest mock draft over at the Draft Network at thedraftnetwork.com. The link will be in the description. Keith, let's go ahead and get this thing started. At number 1, the top 18 picks, guys, are already set after the regular season as we get ready for the NFL playoffs this weekend. So at number 1, the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that's been looking for a quarterback. They get QB1 Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. At number 2 overall, the New York Jets get Dante Moore, quarterback out of Oregon. At number 3, the Arizona Cardinals get Ruben Bain Jr., edge rusher from Miami. At number 4, the Tennessee Titans, you gave them Arvell Reese, linebacker/edge out of Ohio State. At number 5, you gave the New York Giants Francis Mauigoa, offensive lineman from Miami. At number 6, you went Carnell Tate, wide receiver from Ohio State, to the Cleveland Browns. At number 7, the Washington Commanders select Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. The New Orleans Saints at 8 select Jordyn Tyson, receiver out of Arizona State. The Kansas City Chiefs at 9 select Jeremiyah Love, running back from Notre Dame. And at number 10, you gave the Cincinnati Bengals Spencer Fano, offensive tackle out of Utah. Keith, I got to start with number 1, man. It's my favorite pick. My guy, QB1 Fernando Mendoza, and the Raiders they've been in no man's land in terms of draft picks for feels like 5 or 6 straight years. They've been in like that 6 to 8 range where you can't get a quarterback. And then I think the year was it the year that we had 6 quarterbacks drafted in the top 12 to 15 picks. I don't think they were in. Yeah, where it was like Caleb, Drake May, Bo Nix. No, I don't think they were in that range. They ended up drafting Brock Bowers because they were outside of the range.
Right, I think 13, something like that.
Yeah, they were right behind. I think they were right behind the Broncos, and I'm like, that sucks. You know what I mean? All the quarterbacks are now gone, so you go Brock Bowers, which is good. Brock Bowers is an elite prospect, but man, I think Fernando Mendoza throwing to Brock Bowers, having Ashton Jeanty in the backfield, Trey Tucker, our boy Jack Besh at wide receiver. I think Dante Thornton Jr. I think Mendoza could elevate his game as that big body, explosive outside wide receiver with his ball placement and accuracy. I think this is the pick to make. I love, in the end of the day, Keith, and I'm not calling him this. Tom Brady is in that organization. Tom Brady knows what playing on time and with accuracy and playing within the off, all the stuff that Fernando Mendoza does well. That's what Tom Brady did well. The staying after late, being there early, the work ethic, the intelligence. I think if Tom Brady gets the notes from the meetings that they have with Mendoza, he's probably gonna walk out and look at those notes. This is our guy. So that's my favorite pick of the top 10 right now to start. It's Mendoza to the Raiders.
Yeah, I think we have to start this off, right? Well, first of all, congratulations to the Las Vegas Raiders, right? You secured the number 1 overall pick, and then DP. With that securing the number 1 overall pick, conversation and it's been put out there, right? Many reports that Pete Carroll has been let go as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. So you can bet that this is probably going to be a totally different direction, right? And it, to me, is signaling a brand new day, right? And when you see the head coach removed, you have the number 1 overall pick, you can almost lock it in that they're probably going to take a quarterback, right? Like that's going to happen. And for me, man, Fernando Mendoza, right? And we had the conversation about his awkwardness at times, right? But we also talk about how that might be exactly what the Las Vegas Raiders need, right? Like just somebody that doesn't care about everything that can go on with Las Vegas, right? Like being
Mhm.
in Vegas and all of the trouble you can get in, right? When you don't have a social media profile, that's you're trending in the right direction, right? Because social media could potentially get you in trouble. But talking about the prospect of Fernando Mendoza, man, you just say wow, right? In big time moments, this young man consistently shows up, shows that he has a clutch gene factor. He can make all the throws all over the field, has enough mobility, right, to be able to escape pressure, escape the pocket. And you outlined all of the potential weapons that they have. I think after they go grab Mendoza, they're going to have to draft. They're going to have to get some more offensive linemen. I think that's going to be very
Mhm. Oh,
important for
absolutely.
them. Yeah, but I really like this selection. I'm trying to next one. I'm trying to go with because I'm split. I'm split between two different things, and I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Browns with Carnell Tate, DP.
Mhm.
And just getting Shedeur Sanders more weapons, right? And I put this in my blurb, right? My kind of paragraph explaining the pick was that if you it seems as though the front office wants Shedeur Sanders to be there, the fan base wants Shedeur Sanders to be there. I think it's one of those things where you simply DP you allow Shedeur to have an entire offseason, right? Allow
Mhm.
Shedeur Sanders to have an entire offseason being QB1. Allow him to enter the season QB1, but also give him some weapons to where you can get a true evaluation of him. And I'm not pounding the table one way or the other, right? I'm pounding the table for if you're going to do it the right way. Give him the weapons,
Yeah.
entire offseason being a starting quarterback, and then see what results you get from him. Because you either have a franchise guy who has the opportunity to put your franchise, when you're talking about from a media perspective, on a level that you haven't had, right? And the reasons why you drafted Johnny Manziel 10 years ago now, right, is because
Mhm.
you wanted that type of fanfare. Shedeur Sanders can give you that plus higher character situations, right? And so
Facts.
that lightning in the bottle that you've been looking for, that LeBron James with the Cleveland Cavaliers type of lightning in the bottle, you can get that, but you have to curate it the right way because all of this based off of if Shedeur Sanders plays well. If he plays bad, you can guarantee there will be boos, and then you're going to have to bench him at some point. So I looked at the Cleveland Browns taking Carnell Tate, keeping Ohio State kid home in the state of Ohio, was one of my favorite picks.
Yeah, and I think taking Tate and they need a wide receiver one. They need a guy that can win, that can be and he's a QB friendly wide receiver. 6'3", 195 pounds. He's a springy athlete with great ball skills and body control when high pointing. You need a guy like that in the red zone. You need a guy that can eat up grass with a long stride versus off coverage and win on those post routes. But a guy who's a really good route runner and separates versus man, knows how to find those soft pockets versus zone. Like you need, and he's a reliable hands catcher. So you're talking about being able, you want, because one of the biggest issues everyone had with Shadur is that he has a propensity, and it's because playing behind that bad offensive line. Because I watched this tape at Jackson State before he transferred to Colorado. I don't recall him backpedaling like deep in the pocket like that at Jackson State. He played
Mm.
more sound in the pocket, but 2 years behind a piss poor offensive line will scare the daylights out of you when you get hit all the time. So like you want him to be able to get the ball out quickly, a guy that can get open quickly, like a Carnell Tate, who's QB friendly, talking about back shoulder fade, stuff like that. I think that's a great fit for them. And that takes Jerry Jeudy and puts him in more of a complementary role, a supplementary role, rather than being the true wide receiver one. He still has drops. He still got some, like, he's still inconsistent at this stage of his career. And you don't really want to have that situation, Keith. I want to look at, talk to us real quick about pick number 3, the Arizona Cardinals, who just fired their head coach. Jonathan Gannon is now out. You gave him Ruben Bain Jr. Tell people why you went Ruben Bain at 3.
Yeah, man, it was tough, right? Because I thought about going Ty Simpson here, but then I'm like, you know what? New head coach, new situation. Are they going to want to potentially bring in a veteran, right? And not, potentially move on from Kyler Murray or let Kyler Murray battle it out with another veteran? And I'm thinking about this division, DP. When we talk about the Rams, the
Mm-hmm.
Seahawks, the 49ers, this is a tough black and blue division, right? Like it truly is how we view the AFC North, right? With the
Yeah.
Steelers and the Ravens. Like it's that out west, right? It's the NFC
Mm-hmm.
version of that. And I'm like, man, you need toughness, right? Like you need toughness, you need the trenches, you need to be physical, all of the things above. And like I said, I know that there's been questions about Ruben Bain's arm length. All I know is that the guy keeps producing, right? And He's versatile in the sense of the fact that he can play edge rusher, but at 280 pounds, you could kick him inside the defensive tackle. I think you bring this type of tenacity to a defense. He's a guy that's not going to like to lose. He's not going to, and I'm not talking about just the entire game. He's not going to lose his one-on-one battles throughout the game, right? Like that part is going to make him angry. And I think you need that type of mentality to turn the Arizona Cardinals around, because it seems as though, and franchises can do this, and making fan bases aware of this, right, is that sometimes players go to teams knowing that they're not going to be that good, and they kind of just like, you know what, it is what it is. I always go back to, it was Michael Irvin, I believe, and they were talking about initially when Jimmy Johnson came in, and he handed Jimmy Johnson a list of players are like, yeah, these players need to go, right? If we're going to win and beat the Dallas Cowboys, these players need to leave. And I think it's one of those type of things. You need somebody with an attitude that's going to say, you know what, listen, we plan on dominating every single play. And if you're not going to hustle to the football, if you're not going to play to win, then you need to not be here anymore. So I think Ruben Band has that type of tenacity to him. But DP, let's keep this thing going and flowing, man. We went from favorite picks to most interesting picks. We're going to talk about the most interesting picks from my mock draft coming up next.
Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You want someone in network, nearby, with availability, but you also want a doctor who will really listen, make you feel comfortable, explain things clearly, and helps you walk out feeling confident about your next steps. Your diamond in the rough doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can choose someone you truly connect with. I love that you can search for specialty or symptoms and quickly find the right fit. If I need to book care fast, this is the first place I'd go. It just makes the process simple. Stop putting off your doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. Ever wish to become a pro QB? Getting drafted first overall? Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you, and it's called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number one draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness, to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. And guys, I had so much fun just testing it out, right? We all criticize quarterbacks watching live games on Saturdays for college football and Sundays for the NFL, and we think, I could do better. I can make the right decisions. I can be accurate. Well, prove it in this mobile game. Guys, you deal with the ups and downs of a QB career, from rookie nerves to playoff drama, and every choice shapes your journey. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got a special for you right now. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game store to get a free boost at the start of your career. Most interesting picks in the top 10 of Keith's latest, or his first 2026 NFL mock draft of the new year. Keith, I got to go number 7, Washington Commanders, getting Caleb Downs. I think this is an interesting pick. The Commanders just sit at 7 and they get a top 3 player in the draft. You know what I mean? The conversation about positional value, I personally, I don't know when, I can't remember when this started becoming a thing where we're like, yeah, this guy's great, but he plays a position we don't value, so I don't want him in the top 10. I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Like that's stupid. I'm going to be honest. That's very stupid. I'd rather get great football players. I don't care what position they play, especially if it's a position of need. When you look at Caleb Downs, what is he bringing, and why did you give him to the Commanders? Yeah, you could, some Commanders fans like, man, we need a wide receiver, or we could have went edge. Why did you go Caleb Downs right here?
I mean, I went Caleb Downs because do the Commanders need a wide receiver? Yes. Do they need an edge rusher? Yes. But you also need defensive backs, right? Like this, and this season, in my opinion, DP, I hope that Commanders fans don't write it off as just that Jayden Daniels was injured, right? I hope that it highlights more that, wait, there were a lot of holes throughout this team and this roster that needs to be filled in previous years. So Jayden Daniels' rookie year last year was that we superseded expectations, right? Like y'all caught lightning in a bottle. And usually when you have success, DP, it's a 2-3 year process, right? It's not a instant year one rookie year, hit the NFL, take off running, and we're going to win a Super Bowl 1 year. Like that, it just doesn't happen like that, right? Like that's not usually the path that it goes. So Caleb Downs, in my opinion, you're talking about a versatile defensive back that can play on all 3 levels, right? You're talking about somebody that's committed to the game at a very high process. You're talking about somebody that's committed to being a student of the game, right? Like when you're rebuilding a roster, DP, sometimes it can be about hitting home runs, but sometimes it's the guy that's hit doubles, right? Like if you can build safe draft picks, and the thing is that a lot of teams, and then we could go to the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Y'all, they set up there, I think, at the number 7 overall pick, swung for the fences with Tyree Wilson. How has that worked out, right? And I'm more than sure we can go back to that draft, and there were plenty of guys that could just hit doubles and triples that was sitting right there for them to select, and they didn't select them, right? And so I look at the Washington Commanders like, man, draft the guys that have been proven talent. This is a young man that's played at Alabama and Ohio State, right? He's seen the best of the best through his collegiate career. It's not going to be that high of a jump for him. So, and it's a positional need. Y'all need safeties. Y'all need defensive backs as a whole in totality, and he can become a face of that defense.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I just looked it up. I believe if this is correct, their defense finished 31st in the league in total yards allowed, hovering around 380 yards allowed per game. Yeah, you can't, no matter if Jaden Daniels is healthy or not, you can't do that. Like, we can't have that be the case. And I think, everything you said about Caleb Downs, I 100% agree with, right? You drafted Trey Amos last year, who showed some promising flashes as a rookie corner in this league, and you put him in a number 1 corner spot, and he had to cover some top-tier wide receivers this year. You know what I mean? And it was you had a better outcome than when you had Emmanuel Forbes doing it, right? Like, so now just getting a guy like Caleb Downs to go in that back end and that ability to, with Dan Quinn. And, Dan Quinn knows how to scheme up defense to where, hey, we could take the ball away. He did it all them times in Dallas with Diggs, Deron Bland, we've seen him do it. You think a guy like Caleb Downs, who can play free and strong, be that big nickel if you needed him to, be able to disguise coverages, pre-snap, you think it's too high, nope, it's cover 1 robber or cover 1 hole, and you got him rotating down, taking them away the middle of the field, things of that nature. And those are the type of routes that NFL quarterbacks like to throw anyway. And you force them to throw, you let them throw those routes, and Downs can come down and take the ball away, make a big hit, like create those turnover-worthy plays. Like, yeah, a guy like that, don't get me wrong, you definitely still need an edge rusher. So please draft one in round 2. You still need an edge rusher for sure. There's talks about them potentially trading Deron Payne, because I think for what they've seen from a Jer'Zhan Newton. Yeah. So if you can trade Payne and get a 2nd-round pick from a contending team, do it, right? But I definitely I think that's an interesting fit, but it's a good fit because a guy with that talent level and intelligence with a play caller defensively like a Dan Quinn, I'm all for that, Keith. Another interesting one that I have to point out, 9, because this is going to be a talking point all draft season. The Kansas City Chiefs, we haven't seen since drafting Mahomes, they've never picked this high. It was like, now you up there. Now, of course, if you're a Chiefs fan, like, man, what, if the season was going to go this way, why couldn't we get a top 5 pick? Fair. You know what I mean? I get it. It's hindsight. But you gave him Jeremiyah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. And I've seen some of the conversation in Chiefs Chiefs Twitter. They are split when it comes down to adding the Jeremiyah Love. They're like, man, we need D lineman, and we need this and that. Could you use another receiver? 100%. Maybe develop the ones you have before you draft another one. This is my thought process. Getting Jeremiyah Love is an interesting pick, but it's one that will pay off in about a year, because it's not going to pay off to the maximum, because Mahomes will be out all season unless you go get you a Russell Wilson or some veteran quarterback that can win you games. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's what they're probably going to do. Jeremiyah Love absolutely brings you a 3-down running back. The Isaiah Pacheco thing is over. It's done. Let's go ahead and move. It was a cool story. It was a good story. You won a title. You might have won 2 titles while he was there. I don't know. But he did good things for you. Now it's time to go get you a difference maker. And we've seen it with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think the Lions picked him at 12. People called him crazy. He's a top 3 back in the league. You know what I mean? Bijan Robinson is the best back in the league. Saquon is still doing what he's doing. Like, you go get you a difference maker. I think that for the Chiefs, it'll be an interesting pick because they do have some other stuff to worry about. But this would be a home run pick once Mahomes gets back. Because you talk about him having to worry about stacked boxes with Mahomes at quarterback. Oh yeah, then you're able to really run the football and can lean on it with a guy like Jeremiyah Love.
Yeah, in the Kansas City Chiefs over the past few years, right? Probably, I'll say 3-ish years. They've won despite certain position groups not being as talented as they needed to be, right? And specifically the wide receiver position and the running back position. And sitting there and you're looking at this running back class, DP. If this was last year's running back class, when it was 25 running backs that I had with at least 5th round grades and higher, right? That I would have said, okay, maybe you can wait. But in this running back class, DP, there's not a whole lot of selection, especially when you start to get into the game changer 20 plus carries of a game type of running back. And I say if you're sitting at pick top 10, a top 10 pick, then why not go ahead and do what you have to do, right? Like go all in and really upgrade this position overall. You've tried kind of piecemealing this thing together. And I think for the Kansas City Chiefs, it was like that tire, right? That tire that is kind of ran down a little bit, but you keep telling yourself, I'm gonna keep on going. I don't feel like going to get this tire changed, right? And then eventually you got on interstate and the tire blew out, right? And you like, and then now you're mad with yourself. You're kicking yourself because you're like, you know what? I should have been changed that tire. And that's what
internally you knew. You knew
it. And everybody knew it, right? It was like, okay, this is an okay wide receiver core. This is an okay running back room. Travis Kelce is a little bit older, right? So I think this was the kind of, hey, we can't do this no more, right? This was that moment. We can't do this no more. So I look at I put Jeremiyah Love there because I think it adds an explosive element. The part that isn't discussed enough with Jeremiyah Love as a prospect is the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and be motioned out of the backfield. Because I think when people look at Notre Dame, they think 22 personnel, 12 personnel, right? Just running the football downhill and don't realize that Jeremiyah Love actually motions out of the backfield and can do some things in the passing game. So you add a guy that I would say is Jahmyr Gibbs light, right? Like I wouldn't compare him to Jahmyr Gibbs, but can fall under that bracket to this Kansas City Chiefs offense and a weapon for Patrick Mahomes. And I think now you're rolling finally in the right direction.
I think that's what makes Gibbs and Bijan. That's why if anybody asks, like somebody asks, like, hey, who did you have a higher grade on? Do I have it on Love or Ashton Genty? I have it on Love. Now Ashton Genty can catch the ball. They didn't use him they didn't give him enough catches or receptions until like later on in the season, I think. But when teams do limit you as a runner, if you don't offer anything or offer enough in the passing attack, that's what makes Gibbs and Bijan so good. Because even if you do limit them on the ground, they can make big time plays as a pass catcher. Jeremiyah Love could do the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. DP, let's do this, man. We've done favorite picks. We've done the most interesting picks. Let's do the most underrated picks of the top 10 picks of the first round of my 2025 NFL mock draft. That's the beginning of the new year, man. We kicked the new year off the right way. Let's do that coming up next, DP.
Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new, boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. The most underrated picks of the top 10 of Keith's latest, his first 2026 NFL mock draft of the 2026 calendar year. Keith, I go to number 8, man. I love this pick a lot, and that is the New Orleans Saints selecting Jordyn Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. If it's one thing that's true, and Tyler Shough looks to be the franchise QB, just off of what we've seen this year for the New Orleans Saints. And this is like, man, I've seen some quarterbacks drafted high, and you look at the situation like, man, this is not a great situation, and they struggle to produce.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Shough was not in the great. They traded his second best receiver in the middle of the season. Well, I think before he got put in the starting lineup, rather, in terms of Rashid Shaheed. Man, what this offense would have looked like, they probably would have beat the Falcons this weekend if they had Rashid Shaheed, because Chris Olave was out with an injury. But that connection between him and Chris Olave, the connection between him and Juwan Johnson at tight end, him and Taysom Hill when Taysom Hill was in the game. Jordyn Tyson, adding him in this situation, now you give yourself a wide receiver 1A, 1B with Chris Olave. But Tyson brings a bigger body, a more physical player, yards after catch creation. I think people will probably look at the top 10 and might skip past this pick, but don't skip past it, because this is one of those picks that you look forward, you project forward into 2026 and like, man, the New Orleans Saints won the NFC South. And Tyler Shough looks like the best quarterback in that division because they went ahead and really put I tweeted that up, put the resources behind this young man. Get the team ready for him. Start putting the things in place, because you have a potential star quarterback on your hands.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, right? And the reason you go out and get weapons, DP, is because you want your quarterback to start seeing a more clear picture and also learn what he can and can't do. And parts of the can and can't part is obviously can't throw into double coverage, right? But sometimes what your quarterback can do, meaning that if it's a one-on-one up the field and you have a good wide receiver, that receiver's open, right? We watched in Sunday Night Football. I forgot who was it Pat Fryermuth going up the seams, and the Ravens defender, his back was turned, and Aaron Rodgers still threw the football, right? Because it's like, hey, the defender's back is turned, and guess what? That receiver is still open. And so, but you have to have talented wide receivers to understand body control and tracking the football and things like that to be able to do those special level plays, right? And I think if you want Tyler Shough to make the next step in progressions like the Drake Mays and just the Caleb Williams and things like that, then you need to surround him with more talent. Like I'm all in on drafting a young quarterback who you believe is talented, but I'm even more in surrounding him with pieces so that way he can take the next step. So I like that selection. Also, I thought it could be an underrated selection. Because when you think of the New Orleans Saints, it's been a few years since they've had a really good wide receiver core. And on top of that, it's been a few years since the Michael Thomas weirdest retirement thing, injury / who knows situation has ended, right? Like I've never seen a guy go from an all-pro to virtually retired, right, in a year. So yeah, it's just interesting situation, but I think they definitely need to upgrade this wide receiver core. DP, I want to take it and I'm about to throw a curveball and go back towards the top of the draft. Number 2, the New York Jets with Dante Moore. I'm gonna ask you your opinion on that, because this was a tricky one for me, because I think all signs are pointing to the New York Jets, in my opinion, drafting another quarterback, right, and going to get their franchise signal caller. How do you feel about Dante Moore going that high and specifically to the Jets?
I think it's well worth it to me. I think he has a high ceiling still as a prospect. He's only 20 years old. And this is his first year as a full-time starter. Like, yes, he started like 5 games as a true freshman at UCLA before, I think, redshirting and transferring to Oregon, and everything sent behind Dylan Gabriel. But yeah, I absolutely think it's worth it. I think the Jets, they got to figure some stuff out. Like, hey, offense they're going to run and all that stuff. You get Garrett Wilson back. They have 2 first-round picks this year, 2 and 16. You got 3 next year in 2027 draft, and that could very well end up being a Jeremiah Smith coming in. You know what I mean? If you end up having because if you go quarterback now, you can go BPA at every single pick next year. So it's like, I'm perfectly fine with that if I'm the Jets, because you got those 3 first-round. They have 1, 16, 33, and 44. Then they have 103. That's right. That's the 3rd pick of the 4th round. So right out the cusp of being 5 top 100 picks. This is the type of draft that could absolutely change alter their franchise in the right way. I think getting the quarterback and then adding some extra pieces, go Mekhi Lemon or Casey Concepcion at 16 and things like that. That to me, that puts an accelerator on your offense, because I believe Dante Moore, with his accuracy and ball placement and just natural throwing ability, paired with the Garrett Wilson, adding another receiver, maybe helping unlock Adonai Mitchell, his potential. It's like, man, there's a lock on this dude. If we can find that magic key to get him to be consistent, he can be a legitimate receiver in this league, because there's nothing physically he can't do at the receiver spot. So I think it makes a ton of sense, Keith. I'm all for the Jets. If he does declare number 2, hey, go get your quarterback, man. You're another franchise who've been trying to figure it out. Just the only thing I would say, just don't throw him out there like you did Zach Wilson, like you did Sam. Go get a veteran. I don't care if it's Tyrod Taylor. Go get a vet. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, whoever. Go get that veteran. Heck, go get Will Levis for all I care. Go get somebody to take the early season situation, the first 6 games, the 7 games, and let that rookie see what it's like and what you can and can't do, as you talked about earlier, Keith. But I want to, before we close this thing out, shout out 2 picks I think are very underrated, Keith. Number 10, Spencer Fano to the Bengals. Just continue to get help, on that offensive line. I think, just you got to keep keep Joe Burrow upright. Chase Brown had a really good season this year. Want to open up some run lanes there. And then number 5, Francis Mauigoa to the Giants. They need help on their offensive line badly. So just being able to find a stable player, a guy that's going to bring physicality, power, and bring an identity to that offensive line as well. Add that toughness, that grit, that just mean streak as a run defender and as a pass blocker. And then he gives you that the positional versatility. He can play tackle or he can play guard.
Yeah, and I'm gonna speak specifically to the Francis Mauigoa. When you look at this the depth chart for the New York Giants now that they finished the season with, you see some IRs, right? From some of their guys. You see a lot of IRs, and you're like, okay, who's even going to return back to regular form, right? And then even with them in there, obviously you want to get better, right? Like finding, in Mauigoa, in my opinion, I think he's one of those versatile guys. Like he can potentially be that Graham Barton, Peter Skoronski type player that can play tackle or guard for you, right, on the next level. And then he potentially could play either side. So I look at Francis and I say that I like that selection for the Giants. And listen, the Jackson Dart reviews, they're mixed, right, at the end of the day. But he's another guy that you want to give him as many resources as possible so you can get a true evaluation on Jackson Dart. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. Like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, we're going through picks 11 through 20 of Keith's latest first round mock, the first of the 2026 calendar year. We're going to talk about all the picks inside the top 20 and break all that action down on tomorrow's show. So come enjoy the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.